Okay, so as we start, today is November 14, 2024. It is 1:44. We are visiting Daria Dirks, and we have here in the room Daria, George Pletnikov Jr., and myself, Aquilina Lestenkoff. May we record you?
Yes.
Okay. So, oh boy. Maybe we start by you telling us name, your full name, if you had a unangach name or you had a nickname, your age, your family, your brothers, sisters, how you got your name. Just, yeah.
My full name is Daria Cheryl Krukov. My father's name is Andrei Rukovishnikov. My mother's name is Natalia Florence Krukov. I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Mark, Andrew, and John Rukovishnikov, Michael McCoy, my sister Marva, Lynn Stepatin Rakolyev, and my sister Mary Okolina McCoy.
And you're the eldest.
Yes, I'm the eldest, shortest and roundest. Yes.
That's a good thing to be. The wind will just go right over you.
Yeah. So I was born on St. Paul Island, July 9, 1960. My mom came back from Fort Lewis. And in May, she said it was still ice around the island, so they anchored on the Pribilof by St. George for a few days until it opened.
Wow.
In May 1960.
She was pregnant with you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yes, that's why I said. Anyway, she was adopted by my grandmother Doris. Would have been Ermeloff. And then my grandfather John Conrad Krukov. When my grandmother was a teenager in her first marriage, her husband was the son of the chief of Unalaska, John Yachmanov. She had a problem with, she was 16 or 17, she woke up and the doctor and her first husband didn't ask her permission. He sterilized her. So Doris is my mom's godmother. My bio-grandmother, Akolina Galatianov, gave my mom Florence to my grandma Doris.
Mm.
And my mom was born September 8, 1937 in Unalaska. But my Lakana family is originally from Akushin, but they moved to Unalaska in 1930s. My grandfather Simeon Lakanov was a reader in the cathedral, Holy Ascension Cathedral. So in 1940s, she was evacuated with my mother to, I forgot which island, but she met my grandfather John, and her first husband had drowned during the World War II. Not war related, but she ended up marrying my grandfather John Conrad Krukov in Funter Bay with Agafon and Heritina Krukov in a tent, double wedding in a tent. She said it was a white tent. I don't know the priest's name. Then they moved here to St. Paul after they were allowed to come home.
Was that her first time here?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Her and her first husband used to come up here summer to work in the harvest. Yeah. So I graduated from high school in Wasilla, Alaska. Myself and 4 other students went to Wasilla and Palmer, and I graduated in 1979 in Wasilla High.
4 other students from St. Paul.
Yeah, no. It's myself, my best friend Marfa Titov, my cousin Alexander Golanin Jr., Sally Merkuliev, Agatha Lestikov. We all stayed in Wasilla in foster homes to finish our high school years because our generation decided we want to go out for our junior and senior year. And so that's where I graduated from. And my senior year, I was surprised. I saw it on the wall in the school. Should I tell them about what I said about Marfa and I being scared? Anyway, we went to Wasilla High, and as I knew we had to get along with everybody and not just Native people, Marfa and I went into the high school, looked in the hallway, all these non-Native kids coming towards us, staring at us. We both walked backwards without saying anything. We walked backwards and I felt nauseous. There was 500 high school students. The two of us came from an island of 500 people. And they're walking on the hallway, staring at us. We were staring at them. And we didn't eat in the cafeteria for the first 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, the vice principal found us. He said, "You girls have to go in the cafeteria." But and then that's where we started. And that was my first experience also when Marfa had a boyfriend. It was my first experience as being discriminated against. First experience being they were prejudiced against us. Yeah. But we survived and we made it. She finished December 78. She went down to the Indian Art School in Santa Fe, New Mexico in that January semester. And then I graduated from Wasilla, and I'm going to brag, I was the first student that ever got accepted to work for U.S. Senator Ted Stevens in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And I got a telegram, and my mom got a telegram Mother's Day that I've been accepted to go to work for him in, I think it was July. Thinking D.C. was going to be cooler in July, and I worked for him in Washington, D.C. for 5 weeks.
Wow.
I was the first student from Palmer Wasilla Borough, and I was the second student from St. Paul that got to work in D.C. Terenti Buterin had worked for Gravel.
Oh, wow.
Before. Then I came home. Now that I think about it, I should have asked him. The college students got to stay 10 weeks. I should have asked to stay, but like that with my grandparents, so I probably would have came back anyway. 19-year-old kid. Then, 1980, I finally found a job working for Aleutian Pribilof Islands Association as a community health representative. And I fell in love with that. I didn't know what to do, but there was a doctor here who said, "I think your job, you have to do more than help the receptionist with paperwork." So I got that job description from the tribe, and the tribal council had a meeting there in where Beer Hall is now. And then I told them, so the doctor looked over with me, and we came up with my job description to provide health education, help with elders if they needed help with paperwork. And I also started a fluoride rinse for the school kids.
Oh, yeah.
I would just put it in their cup, and they all looked at me, because we didn't have fluoride in the water back then. What else did I do? I was on health board at the time. We would meet once a month, and we kept it informal. We talked about our health issues, and back then, diabetes was the main issue, and alcohol, and tobacco. So I would do, once a month, I would show the elders, the diabetics, reel-to-reel film on diabetes, nutrition, so forth.
The health board, do you remember who was all on the health board?
Myself, Alec Olanen, trying to remember. Give me some names.
Was Max? my brother Max.
Oh yes, he was involved.
I was on it, but I have vague memories too. I was on the health board before it turned into an advisory board to APIA, but it was our own local health board.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
We meet upstairs in that big room.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we would meet. Max, myself. I'm trying to remember who
Was
else.
Irene by then? Or not yet? Irene Kachutin?
I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Wow. I wish we had the notes and minutes from those meetings to
Yeah, I wonder where they're at.
see. When you met in the basement of the store where the beer
The tribe.
sales is now,
Tribal government.
they were there for a while. Oh yeah, on that side of the building. That's right, on the back side. I was wondering if, remember how we had that teen center in that
Yes.
area for a while? If that was sometime right after that, then I think
Before
could be.
that. We had that as a rec center before.
Yeah, but I think that when afterwards is when the tribal government started to be in that space.
Yes. We
Yeah.
had one 8-track player, card game and a board game and each other, and that was it.
Right.
I remember
We had membership cards.
we did.
We did.
I don't
We
remember.
laminated them at the school, where people paid. I think we paid $5 to be a part of the club.
I remember Mr. Weaver's son would take us riding on a
Russell.
snow machine. Yeah, tall redhead kid.
Yeah.
And then that's all we had. And then now these kids say, "Oh, it's boring." I'm like, "What?" This is look at, but like I tell the kids, we only had each other.
Could you share? And I think it's an important thing. Is like you had this very close sister friendship with Marfa
Yes.
Titoff. Did you get to? How much time or when? What do you remember was spending time with her after she went to Santa Fe?
Nah, not. She'd come home for a visit, and then she'd go back. We both worked on the seal harvest. The first time I worked in the seal harvest, 1980, because I got into the seal harvest because I worked with a couple of biologists that you were tagging, and they needed, and Chelsea hired me to record everything for them. I recorded the length and the pink tag that was the number, and I was thinking, wow. And I looked at the sealers and I said, I want to do that. So I applied the next year because the biologist didn't come back. And Rena Josephine Melvidoff and I got hired to watch the herd. So we would get them in groups of 500, break them down, and we would lead them towards pot cutters would come and join us. And that's when I started in 1980. That was my therapy. Because my job, I did, Marfa and I, she came on, I think, 82, 83, 84. We worked for 5 weeks. It was, and 84, I asked Greg, I want to come back as a pot cutter. He goes, no, you're my best watch person. I go, well, I'm not coming back then. I want to be a pot cutter because you have to be fast and you're scared of me getting bit. He goes, no. So I said, never went back to harvest. But we would break the herd down to how many stunners we had, however many men from a group of 500, and you get the ones that are mean out first because the whole herd would try to follow them. And I learned how to do sealing from my grandpa John Krukoff and my stepdad Bill. This is keep your back to the wind. Don't let them go. Don't let them go past you if you're by the water. Stay in front of the water. Oh, the first time I lost 50 seals, I cried. That was at West Side Story. And the guys were in the seal bus. How could you let more seals go? Oh, I don't want to get fired. I'm not going to fire you, Kalachi. I'm not going to fire you. And I didn't tell the guys I cried. I was scared I was never going to go back to it. But then Marv and I were the best team together. She would watch right below Zappany Reef would another called Dance Hall, and I would watch at Tolstoy. And Ambrose Glennon would watch the rocky cliff part before you go over the hill. So we had fun. And yeah, so I lost my first herd, 50 seals. And the guys are at Northeast. They saw my seals going across the lake. And I said, oh, at least I didn't lose them to the water. That would have been all of them. He said, oh, there's Daria's herd.
Flippering across the tundra.
Yeah. Let's get away from this crazy woman. Anyway, yeah. But we would start our day 4 o'clock breakfast. We were served breakfast, cafeteria style. Yeah. Then by 5 we were on the field. And to this day I hate reef. The last day of sailing, when Marv was with me, I timed it. We sat still for 7 minutes. We were running up and down, because they would split 3 different directions at the same time. And yeah, it was
So
funny.
you had 7 minutes of rest.
Yeah, to sit
That's
down.
it.
The rest I was running up and down. I forgot Darlene worked with the biologist too. I forget his name. But we had a mean name for him. Art something. No, not Art.
Was it Scordino? Not Scordino.
The guys called him Furface. I was like, oh my god.
There was like Al Rappel. Maybe that's earlier.
He was short beard. So anyway, we would get about 22 to 20 something, 24,000 seals in 5 weeks time. After we got done being in the field, we'd come in and put the skins in, I don't know if it was a row of 5 or 10. Then we had to take it and throw it in the dump truck. It took Marv and I 3 days to get our first skin up. So heavy.
The truck was high.
Yeah, those dump trucks were, yeah. And when we got it on the, we both jumping up and down, and it went like that, and the guys was like, yay! We were like a family. Family. 44 to 50 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I would do, during the winter, fall and winter, I would work in social services. But in the summer, that was my mental health break. Or
Nice.
I'd lose 15 pounds. And family style.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of men get bit, thrown on their butt. Of course, I'd scream. Let's see what else. I remember my grandfather telling me they would get. I remember an elder told me my grandpa, he's a cutter, stab and then cut. Sometimes they would get so tired they would kneel above the seal. That's how tired they were. They could get anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 a day back then, and we 22,000. Nothing compared to what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So a little bit before that work, you, what do you remember? What are your memories of childhood? Maybe anything from things you did when you were playing outside, or who you hung out with, or being in school, or meal times, or curfews, or church. What was that like for you? As you were growing up before high school and finishing high school.
I had a very good childhood. School, I remember playing more in kindergarten. And then my mom was wondering why Mark and I were sickly in first grade. She was abusive. I get spanked. Mrs. Harrell. I'm not the only one that remembers her. She was mean. But anyway, I would play with Marfa Titoff. She was only 4 houses down from my house, so we'd go play. And then as I got older, Juliana B. Zaharoff, she lived next door in Clara's house, which was my Uncle Gabe's house at one time without the extension. And we would play with our dolls and make birthday cakes for our cats. My cat. And then we'd do hopscotch,
Your
red
cat was
rover.
orange.
Huh?
Orange cat.
Big orange fluffy
What
one.
was his name?
Skipper.
I was going to say, but I thought I was going to be wrong.
Kids were scared of him. He just looked mean. Best cat I ever had. He didn't sleep inside the house. My grandparents' box and blanket. And that was his room in the entryway. We
Mhm.
call Calidor. Yeah, I grew up with him. And that was my first cat. And then so we'd also go, Martha and I would spend the night with each other at my house usually. We would do hopscotch, bicycle, and sometimes Bia and I would also, play our tea sets, because my grandfather built my grandma a little shed where she could keep her lusta for the rest of the year. And then she would send Lusta and Sumi to her best friend Alice Moeller in Unalaska. And Alice Moeller would send salmon, salted salmon, and all kinds of other fish from their trade. Yeah.
Was that like by boat, the trade, or on,
Yeah, because we didn't have... I don't remember Reeve until we were teenagers.
Mm.
We'd all go skating, sliding. As I got older, I remember my brothers and Luke could shoot, and going from where this hill is down with skis, and I thought, gosh, they're crazy. And then when it's windy, they showed me how put your jacket up by this cliff and blow back.
Right.
Someone watched out for
I think we would do that. The school was right here when we went to elementary school, and sometimes the wind came up, and this side, the west side, was kind of protected, so we'd run out this corner and hold up our jackets too.
Yep. And Rec Hall was our gymnasium. Yeah, the whole floor. They didn't have the kitchen then, and now I think about it, I remember how clean and waxed it was.
Yeah.
See, what else did we do? Sliding, making snowman. And sometimes the snow would be so bad, I'd go behind Marva and Pappy's house and made myself a fort in there and stay in it. Fun.
Do you remember moving from here, the school here, where we're sitting and visiting now, to the school where it is presently?
I remember 73 August or September.
Yeah.
I didn't like it
Mm.
because the windows were small and I couldn't look outside and daydream.
Yeah, that's right. It was just by the door, right? The window. Yeah.
We went where the 4th, 5th grade classroom is. That's where we moved in, I think. And then your dad was teaching Unangan. The other classroom where Mr. Reyninho's class is.
Mm.
And then later on in high school, it became our typing, the
Typing.
old-fashioned typewriter. Our fingers were sore for a week, and then we were so proud we graduated to the electrical Lavetti in January. Yeah,
Right.
I liked our old school because big windows.
Yeah.
And then I was getting to the point where I used to write poems, and I look outside, watch people go over to Rec Hall, and so forth. Then I remember our library, kindergarten library. I don't remember where Mr. Whitman's office was.
It was the back of the library.
Okay.
Like there was this little office. When you went in the library, his office was like right in there.
I remember my mom and yours would make us snacks.
Mm-hmm.
Peanut butter with raisins on pilot bread. That was our favorite. Then we'd have chocolate milk. And then the next day would be pilot bread, mayo, and cheese on top of the white milk.
Mm-hmm.
Never
Yeah.
liked white milk.
Remember those dried peaches or something?
Mm-hmm.
When they would scoop
So
up
peaches,
dried fruit as a
apricots.
afternoon snack or something.
Yeah.
Only when it was available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we had the best playground.
Yeah.
The slide, oh my goodness. It was long.
Right.
And then our jungle gym right on top of cement. Teeter-totter.
Merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round, yeah. Tetherball, I still like that
Yeah.
too. Yeah. That tingling.
Yeah.
All those happy, and then the movie theater. Sea breeze.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting how I think I've had to look up tingling to show people what I'm talking about.
I have to laugh. I was thinking, how am I going to find a picture of a 16 millimeter projector?
I think there's an actual one upstairs in City Hall, Rec Hall. An actual projector.
Wow.
I think the Foursquare came in a little bit
Oh.
later.
Love that Foursquare.
Yeah. That was fun
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Then there. What else did we do? We were always busy. We were Red Rover. Never liked that. They
Yeah.
would break my arm. Red Rover.
Yeah.
But like I said, we were.
That wasn't my favorite either.
Me either.
Yeah.
And then I remember on ice skating, the pond would be like this. And I'm like, are we crazy to be skating on like that?
You
My
almost
mom-
needed shocks
Yeah.
in order to skate across it.
My mom told me.
Skates with shocks.
My mom told me Bill and his brothers put 6 to 8 of those barrels, run, skate, just jump right
Wow.
over it.
They were good skaters, the
Yeah.
brothers, the
Yes.
Stepleton brothers.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about, I think of your grandma as one of the best cooks. Tell me about the food you grew up on.
She never went to school. My grandpa was forced to quit at 8th grade at 16. Anyway, she came from Alaska, like I said, down to the evacuation. And she ended up marrying my grandpa. Didn't know how to read or anything, but she knew how to cook. Everything that I would teach, when I tried to learn from her, says, let's measure. She says, I don't measure. Okay. And then, yeah, it was all native foods. In fact, after she passed away, I said, I'm done. No, my brother's mad at me because I never learned from her.
Mm.
Everything was homemade, and she just cooked. She
She
tried
baked?
everything. Baked, yes, she would bake, and she would leave. She had a shelf on that window on the left, where people say, "Oh, it smells good," and she would cut them, give them a piece. Everybody who went by her house would get something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had seal meat, reindeer, not as much, ducks. I forgot what ducks they were. I think kakea, kittiwake. Yeah, and so and when
Halibut.
halibut, yes, it's my favorite. Then she would have cooked the fish from Unalaska, which I got from Mrs. Moeller. And when I grew up to be a teenager, we first discovered Swanson's TV dinner. My grandpa brought us one. We had one for each other. And I don't think my grandpa was too fond of it because when my grandma cooked, the table was full. And as I got older, the Freitas brothers, Greg, Tulipop, Starsta Trenti, Tulipop, and who's the other one? Greg. They would bring seal meat, ducks, whatever. She would cook it for our family first. Then she'd have another whole pan for their family. Let them come get it.
Mm.
And that's Roman, Greg, and Stars Trenti.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then she would give a whole platter full. And then Irene Malavita would call, how do you cook this? How do you fix this? So Irene Melavidoff and Clara, like her other daughters, they would call and say, how do you fix this? And she would tell them and share.
Did and your grandparents, how did that, they raised Mike,
Oh, yes.
adopted him?
When the federal government, back when in those days when they would inspect the homes, if not the agent, the doctor, the Ostikoff family, Andronic, Nina, my uncle Mike, Neela, Elizaveta, and Vasa all had to stay in a camp house for the winter because they said, your house is not clean enough. I guess they built up too many demerits or whatever the government did back then. So my grandpa talked with Michael Krukoff. Michael John Ostikoff Krukoff was my grandpa's godchild. So they took him in, and I saw the papers that showed that he was adopted. No lawyers, no judges, just them. They raised him. And yeah, like I said, when my grandma came up from Unalaska to Funter Bay to St. Paul. And that's the one our family's been since then.
Do you know about how old he was when they adopted him?
No, I don't remember. Young. Younger than, I don't remember. I have to look at the paperwork.
Like if he was 5 or younger or older than that, maybe. Or,
yeah, I'd have to check the paperwork.
That was very nice of them to do that. Those are the times where the federal government took it upon themselves, or I don't know, they acted like they owned everybody's homes. Or they claimed they owned everybody's homes.
Yep. My grandma said she didn't like it. 4-9, she said, the army built it, no closets whatsoever. What were they thinking? We don't have clothes?
Yeah.
But my mom always says, you can't complain about the government. We have running water because of them. We have electricity because of them.
Is that the house that they lived in
49.
when they came back from the evacuation? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Family home.
Do you know who lived there before?
No. She didn't say. Oh, she says, they didn't have no closets in this house.
Yeah.
And you know, she liked to dress up, especially for church.
Yep. She was a smart dresser.
Yep, she was.
For some reason, I appreciated the scent of your home and going in, whether it was food. There was food, but there was always some other smell to it that was very pleasant. Baking, but no, there was something else. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
There's just a sense of
My mom always said
someone who cared for her home.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
My mom always says you could. When she got sick, this doctor was saying, "Yeah, people from St. Paul like to get TB." My mom was, "F you, you could eat off of her floor. That's a perfect." And I used to be like that, but then my brothers told me, "Well, my grandma died, and then you're not married anymore, so you don't have anybody to."
Those brothers.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
So then do you have any recollection of things that came into our lives and times, television, phones, like even when you were working in, I think they probably had phones by the time you were in the CHR position, and you worked in the old clinic above the school.
Yeah, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did social services, assisted, like help people with applications like food stamps. I had to learn. And my Uncle Mike even say, "Here, fill out my PFD for me." I was like, "It's easy, do it yourself." I don't want to. So yeah, and then that time too, I'm going backwards. This one doctor that helped me with my job description, And then I took her to the tribe and say, this is what I'm going to do. And then myself and Linda Mack from King Cove got honorable mentions in the APIA newsletter. Vlas is the one that congratulated me.
Do you remember
Yeah.
the doctor's name?
Dr. Barr, Peter Barr.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I remember
Yeah,
him.
he was an orthopedic.
Okay.
Back then,
Was he before Dr. Randy Wiest?
yes.
Okay.
He was the first one I worked with. He was the one that helped me. Friday afternoons was my favorite time. My mom and my Auntie Pauline would stay in the clinic and we carried a VHF, CB VHF radio, one of those, just in case there was an emergency and we had to go back. So we start from Isaka's house to his great grandma Alexandra. Loved that woman. And then we would go up to Momsina's house. Then John and Valentina Hepoff, his sister, she was the one that told me about my grandmother, Okolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she remembers because she remembers herself and my grandma Doris.
Yeah. See, she was Petticoff?
Yeah, Petticoff.
Yeah.
She only had 1.5 legs for some reason. She never shared that part. They lived at House 2-5.
Was her, was Victor Gordiev, was her
boyfriend.
Yeah, they never married, but they, yeah, okay.
Yeah, good people.
Yeah.
I just like to visit her.
Thank you for
She shared
letting me remember them.
a story about my grandma. Galatianov, saying that she didn't like my grandfather Simeon. Short like me. My Uncle Nick looked like him. Poor guy was half Russian. I don't claim to be Russian. He was. Half valued, half Russian. Only brother and sister that my mom said, gray eyes, none of you kids got it. And she told me he had been married to somebody. They had 10, 12 kids. His first wife died. So, and then he married my grandma, Aquilina. She's 19, 20 years younger. She said, oh, she's so beautiful. I didn't like your grandpa. And I was like, oh, he's old. And my grandma had given birth that day. And there was people drinking. And Valentina and my grandma Doris were helping clean, keeping the kids fed. And that's why my grandma gave my grandma Doris, my grandma Clina gave my grandma Doris to her later on. Because there's how many, 10, 12 kids running around, plus he might have had another 10 or 12 with my grandma. And so my grandma ended up giving my mom Florence to my grandma Doris because her first husband and that doctor, without her permission, she woke up and she said, you can't have babies. I'm sorry, that still makes me angry.
They just took her to the hospital? And
I don't know if they took her to the hospital or they might have had a hospital there. Yeah. That could have been why my grandpa decided to move the family from Acushnet to Unalaska for health care.
Oh, it happened in Acushnet then?
No, she was born in Unalaska,
okay.
My mom. Yeah. And back then, my grandpa, they had TB also in that Unalaska. So that wasn't that. Could have been better quality living, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then my mom was talking with somebody. We thought she was the youngest, but Pat always says they might have had 1 or 2 more kids. So that my grandma was young. Long, beautiful hair and pretty eyes.
But you don't have pictures?
No.
Yeah.
The only picture they had burned in my Uncle Nick's house. Oh, it was so sad. I remember going to Unalaska for the first time when I was 7. We went by the Pribilov. It took us 3 days. The dock was all wood to climb up ladder. I saw my first tree, saw my first dog. Stayed at Mrs. Moore's house. And I remember asking my grandma, my Uncle Nikolai was just staring at me. I asked her, Acha, who's that old people up there? That's your grandma and grandpa. I was like, stupid. That was the only picture
So you got to see it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but do I remember it? No. So when people in Alaska show pictures of Simeon Lakanov, I'm like, I wonder if that's him. My family would have told me
Yeah.
if it was, but it burned in their house, their old house. Yeah.
Do you know if they ever came here?
I don't know. I don't
That's
think
interesting.
Pat didn't say anything about it.
Yeah. Oh no, it was Chirpanov. I was thinking, is there a Kolektianov in Akutan? It was Chirpanov that came. Ver's mom, Sophie, was a Chirpanov. I believe, yeah. Then she was Paul Shablin's mom.
I have no idea.
But I was going to make a Kolektianov out of her, but she wasn't a Kolektianov.
Yeah.
What about you've worked in the clinic, and if you choose to talk about like being married and becoming a mom, becoming a grandma.
So after that job, when I get burnt out, I would leave my jobs, and then I don't remember what else I did after that, but I loved that job. It's like it was created for me. Served the people, helped them.
When you did this, when you first started, you were in the clinic downstairs, in the old clinic. And then I think when APIA came in,
They moved me upstairs.
they had the services there.
The
So
social
who did you work
services.
with in that? Was it Sugar?
Jack Kleinkoff.
Jack Kleinkoff?
I don't remember when Sugar Mama started.
Was it after you were no longer there?
And then I went back because I was a glutton for punishment. I thought it was my job to serve our people, to do the best, help them get the best of everything. And then I would help the dental team when they came in. I learned how to sterilize the equipment for them, and then work with them even if I didn't have to. And they were like, Grahalva, yeah, he wrote a letter to EPIA and said, she's a really good help. And that's where I would show the videos to the diabetics or on high blood pressure issues that we had back then. Yeah, Dr. Barr encouraged that, so I did it. I learned a lot from him because they just gave me a job description, and Donita wanted me to help her put charts away, and he was like, I don't think you need to be here, Daria. That's how I got to do all the things I got to do. I don't remember what year it was. When the radio station started, I told people on the health committee, maybe we could have a sheet, educational material, and somebody could read it off, and everybody goes, you could read it. And I started with Alicia Mazikin Merkoyev. We spent how many minutes just laughing in the studio. She'd recorded, I'd make a mistake, and I'd go, and then we would just giggle, and then say, 3, 2, 1, start all over again.
That's the time they were recording on those big reel tapes.
And you could edit right away.
Yeah.
You know. And then when I started doing that again, and the kids would tell me, you don't have to go 3, 2, 1, just start talking. I would read from the Hope Health letter. It was educational, informative, positive. Yeah.
That's
Shirley
good.
Meyer was our PA, and she goes, I love you doing that. And John R. told me, I like your PSAs. It was not more than 5 minutes, I don't think, or 10 minutes. He said, I like your PSA about employees and a broken typewriter. And yeah, I get complimented on that.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Yeah. Hopefully that comes back. I know we were in the times, those times there were newsletters regularly that went door to door. Even the school had a newsletter, and everything is digital now. But you think about if there were probably other people too, who other than Grandma, who couldn't read, and for them to be able to hear what's being said, it informs them by listening versus reading.
Nothing nice. I always think I started the campaign letter. I was 20 years old. Dr. Barr helped me. Why don't you do a campaign letter? Dr. Barr said I looked. What's that? So I ran for city council and school board. Didn't get the school board. John beat me by 6 votes. But I figured, okay. And then somebody else asked me, I went to the bar, gave papers. Like, don't you guys a little bit much? I was a 20-year-old energetic kid. I was going to change St. Paul. We were going to cure alcoholism in a week. Oh my God. Yeah, that dumb. We weren't going to have alcohol issues. Back then, people would take a pack per night. And yeah, and our numbers were highest in the state for diabetes back then too. And I always think it's from when the government didn't pay our family money. But I told Stars to Trinity that potatoes, corned beef, flour, what else they get? Unhealthy. And my mom told me, yeah, that growing up they didn't get fresh fruits. It got canned. And only the government agents that lived at government house would get fresh fruit. And I'll tell you something my mom said about Anna Trepanoff. She was Anna Freitas back then. There was a cook, company house. That was a nice place. And she would say, yeah, the cook would say, Anna, how come your breasts got big? She put fresh fruits in her ear to take it home. Yeah, well, they were hungry, you know.
Do you remember going there and buying a hamburger, like how they used to sell it sometimes out the side door? Yeah.
I remember working there at 14, my first job, working for CEDA or whatever government program for kids. What the teachers did or somebody did was put me in my household with my mom when they lived at house 1. But I wasn't considered poor. My mom and I didn't even know we were low income, and we didn't even know we were poor. We had everything we needed.
Yeah.
Thanks to my grandparents. And then, so they had me on there so I could get hired. And that's when I started working as a waitress. And there was Alice Filmonoff and Fikla Hepoff, myself, Carol Swetzoff, and I'm trying to think who the other. Oh, Debbie Lakanoff. She was pregnant. She was working with us. And we would sit there, unprofessional, sit there and stare at the tourists eating. We would serve them and then sit down to eat. I mean, watch them eat.
So you did so the tourists were fed there at that time. By that time, that must have been when the A dorm was serving people working that came and lived in the A dorm to work in the pelt processing plant. Anybody that flew here.
The guys from
other places,
Illinois or wherever they did the blubbering, wherever they came from, would stay in A dorm upstairs. And then I remember as a teenager, the St. George boys, our age, eating in the back area covered by them, coffee, whatever machine, they would eat in the back there, and the tourists in this section. And Bishop Gregory would even come in and eat there too. So everybody looked at me and I took what he wanted, because we didn't charge him. I wrote what he wanted to eat and would just take it to him. Yeah. So we had our 8th grade graduation there.
Right, at the old hotel.
Yeah, we ate there.
Right.
Yes.
That was a sit-down banquet dinner. That was really...
we were all dressed up. I couldn't do it now. Platform shoes, remember that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't... Was it like... I think the way that worked was we were with our family, our parents, grandparents, and even Anna and Helen were there.
Yes.
And you were sat
Checked
with your
up.
parents.
Yeah.
And then I think the 7th graders were waiting and serving. I think that's how it
All of
worked
us?
at that time.
That part I don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like that's how they did it. So somehow,
It was a nice.
I don't remember doing that as a 7th grader though. But I
Me
remember
either.
the 7th graders were the
So
ones that
who
were-
served us then?
The 7th graders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I don't remember as a 7th grader serving the 8th graders. I don't know if that
Yeah.
happened differently
Yeah.
that year.
I don't
or
remember
not.
either. We're all
We had to make a speech. I mean,
recall.
the long speech. It's a little different than.
Whole page had to be
Different.
checked.
Mm-hmm.
They checked our grammar, but now I hear they don't.
Mm,
When we had a couple of high school kids graduated,
mm,
I heard there was a community member that was not impressed with their
Mm.
vocabulary and grammar. But anyway, yeah. And then after that, we went up to Father Ilari's ice cream shop and
Mhm.
had ice cream. It was by Father's, where Father lives now, the ice
Mhm.
cream shop. Yeah.
by house 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then Formanaz Cafe by Anna's house.
Mhm.
I used to like that. And then I barely remember Grace Cafe behind Ted's
Yeah.
house. And then George and Xenia. All I remember is those big red booths.
Oh, Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe
Yeah,
and
Gabe
Xenia.
and Xenia's
then
Star
this
Cafe.
theater. And then
Yeah.
I remember those posters on House 3, John Cushing.
Right.
6:30 kids, 8:30 or 9 o'clock adults.
Yeah. There was one time when we used to all run to that poster, and then Bottom Theater had a poster place where they put a poster between the two houses.
Yes.
You could drive up to. And one time my brothers told me to go look at the poster to see what the movie was, so I was excited. I ran over to House 3 and read. So I like, okay, I got to tell them it's the name, who's acting, and the audience. And I ran home and said the name of the movie, who's acting, and I said, it is suggested for mature audiences. They started laughing at me. It's mature. I was corrected.
I remember how Quinnick John Cushion, if we were allowed, he'd flashlight us.
Yeah.
Be quiet. And I remember Anna Shane, your sister-in-law, was sitting by me. And I remember watching the Cowboy and Indian movie, and I was grossed out. I said, "Ew, what's that?" And she goes, "Oh, he got scalped. That was the most disgusting thing I ever seen." You know, they showed it, and then Vincent Price, always the Dracula vampire. Yeah.
Scared to walk home after those movies.
Yeah. My grandma and I would walk home from here, go there, go
Mhm.
home. I'd be scared.
Yeah, imagine like the
That-
walking, people were walking more than.
Yeah, it would be dark too.
Yeah, it's not like they had a parking spot by Seabreeze Theater.
Yeah,
People
we'd
walked
walk
there.
Right by John Hepboff's house.
Mm.
Walk down between.
The trails.
Oh, was it Bozo that lived
Yeah.
in 34?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him and his wife.
Sometimes I think of those trails, like the one that was going down by 2-5 by John Happoff's is not there anymore.
It isn't?
No, I've tried.
Oh,
I've tried to
jeez.
walk it to reopen it. I think even when your parents stayed there, it's like there used to be a trail here,
Yeah.
and though Ver was one of the last people I remember using it when she was married to Preferi and stayed in House 28.
Yeah.
And then Anfisa used to come from visiting her parents' house, Kachutin house.
Yeah, 3-1.
Then John Happoff, her uncle's house, and her cat would be following her, walking home up here to her house. Those trails they're not used
That's
anymore.
sad.
Mm.
Then we had a steam bath house behind Trenti's. Freitas's,
Mhm.
and then one between Dorothy and Murphy's house.
Mhm.
Mary Titoff's house.
Yeah.
We used to go to that when ladies would go first, ladies and kids, that cool room. used to be too hot for me. I would just go in the other area just to cool down and go back in there. Then we'd go home, relaxed. Yeah. So we had 2 steam bath houses.
On that row.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, one was by where Alagaya lives,
Oh,
and then one
okay.
behind Mary Tito's and Dorothy's house.
Oh, okay.
In between there.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there? It's more behind Mary Tito's
Yeah,
house.
it was more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there used to be that trail that went down there too.
From the hill, from
Yeah.
Moran's house. Yeah. What else? I think I'm forgetting something.
We're getting old. That's why.
I remember too, we started school there. My brothers and sisters had to walk from where my mom's house is, where Andrew lives now.
Uptown.
Yeah, all the way down to school. And then I told the kids, my brothers and sisters walked during our strategic planning. No one said anything.
My dad would be impressed. Stars to John Mazikin lived here, lived here in this house. Yeah, because the Krukoffs lived there, and then I think he also lived with Fikla and Arthur. But
Did
when
he?
Agathon and Diane got a house uptown,
Yeah, where
he went
Chief's
to
house
live
is.
with them.
Yeah.
He would walk from there to church in his 80s.
Yeah. My mom told me that too.
Yeah,
Even if it was deep snow, he'd walk.
yeah.
He was devoted like my uncle, Nikolai.
Mm-hmm. They didn't.
And then it got to the
weren't
point
afraid of that.
In Alaska, my family got tired of my uncle mowing, so they got him a sit-on lawnmower where he could just go all over his outside in the yard. Yeah.
Maybe I'll get one for Phil one day, but not now.
I know I've asked Adrian too. I told Rob. Owens told me don't get a lawn or a weed whacker. Use ours. So it's never been done.
We had our house, I like the natural over the growth. However, we have windows in the basement, and then just with plants, the natural, wonderful process of biodegrading, and just dirt built up, and the next thing you know, we'd have snow melting, and it would just start to pour into our basement.
Wow.
So we dug down, and so we just continued to keep mowing just so that it doesn't grow back, and
I guess I should share how I met my husband. Everybody, people get a kick out of it. You should send it to Reader's Digest. Anyway, 1984. The men, some of us, we quit. I had to have 3 alarm clocks because the first week of sealing, I was late. So I had an alarm clock right by me, and I had an electric one on my desk across my bed. And when I lived upstairs at 4-9, I'm sure my grandparents heard me. I shout out, "Leave me alone!" I was like, "That's stupid." Turned them off, washed up, dressed up, got ready for breakfast, and went to work. And the guys laughed at me too. They go, "Who's wearing Ben Gay?" Me. They all cracked up. The freaking back was sore, Run for miles and miles. And anyway, they had to hire some guys from Attica, the most unemployed men island at that time. And they got 6-8 of them from Attica. The sealer van bus, that big blue one, was full. So my ex-husband opened the door, Kalachi's vehicle, and all of us just stared at it. And my mind goes, "Wow." It was wearing bandana, dark hair, dark eyes, and I says, "Welcome, I'm Daria," and I introduced everybody, and one of the guys looked at me like, it was me, starts to Robert, Rena Gal. There's 2 other people in there, Nobody liked me because I was friendly with them. Yeah.
Do you remember who the other people were that came?
Edward Nevzorov, Rena's husband, Alex. There was 8 of them. Mike, Alex, Ed Nevzorov. I don't remember the others.
I don't
Trying
even
to
remember
think.
that. But
1984.
that's because I was pregnant.
Aiden was asking me, how could you not know Tyler's bio dad? Didn't you ever see him? I'm like, I was busy raising you. Do you think I care about everything he does? I said, it was you, your dad, and grandparents visit every night
Yeah.
and stayed with them. And
So then, when they came, they worked. Did they have put them in the dorm, or where did they?
yes, Ador
They did stay there. Okay.
upstairs. Yeah.
So they were that's kind of a cool thing, because that's the last time they brought people in,
From
and
the
that was
oceans.
the Tanada Goose Corporation that probably brought those people in. And
I don't
it seems
remember.
like they would bring them in from the Aleutians before World War II. You hear
That's
Vasily Cherpanov and Ermolov, folks that talk about coming up here to work, and then they didn't happen for a period of
long
time.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how the closure was having the Attica boys
Come.
come.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah. Did he leave after that, or did he stay?
He left. He left, and I got a job with APIA in Anchorage, and I was lonesome. I moved in November. You know how close I was to my grandparents. So I asked him, "Are you interested to come up this way?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." And I went to the APIA. We worked at that Kaloa buildings on 1689 C Street. His dad called after 2 months. My son went to Anchorage to live with the St. Paul girl in Anchorage. Do you know where he is? Do you know how he's doing? And all my coworkers, Daria, you have a boyfriend? You're hiding. I didn't want to be alone. Hetty was my supervisor back then. So I said, call your dad. And then after 6 months, Z, called me up in Anchorage. Here, she let me listen to Slavi people. I started crying. She goes, don't cry. My grandparents came to stay with me for American Christmas. My grandpa decorated. It was sometime after that I asked him to come up. Yeah. But he used to call me Daria. He told me he didn't know how to speak English when he went to kindergarten. Yeah. And his dad was the only one that was kind of well-to-do. He worked in school for $1,000 a month, but he had how many brothers and sisters?
Right.
And I would get mad at him because as we got older, before we got married, I met his brother Charlie in Wasilla, who, disgusting. In Unalaska, a cop just clubbed him on the head and he wasn't all there anymore. Then he got ALS or some kind of illness. So we met him in Wasilla the summer before. My mom and I and my grandma and him were shopping for our wedding, 1986. And then we all went to a restaurant. And he told me, you always eat slow. His brother was there, my mom, my grandma and I. I go, these motherfuckers sequel like you, everybody. I looked at his brother and I was like, oh no, his brother was laughing. I didn't know that. He told me one time, you had to eat fast in my house, otherwise you're not going to get a second helping. And then later on, my grandparents go, his brother Larry eats the same way he does, and I had to explain to them how if you didn't eat fast, you couldn't get sick. It's like, I couldn't believe that. I was like, at least I don't eat like I'm a single. And I looked at his brother and I was like, oh my God, not a good impression to make. Poor. And then he would feed Adrian. Then my grandma would tell him, slow down, you're letting him eat too fast like you. And then he tried to do that to Aid Jr. And I'm like, give it to me. And, you don't think about things like that. We had Larry, Moses, Janet was our Kumska, just loved her. Barbara. They had a brother named Charlie and Arthur that didn't survive. So, but I loved his dad's house. We sobered up in 1990, and I told him I wanted a divorce so he could drink in that Friday. And my Uncle Mike, it was either from seizures or withdrawals. And then I said to myself, your marriage is hanging on a thread and you lost your uncle to alcohol. So, and then 3 weeks later we went to treatment together in Providence.
Mm.
Yeah, we got sober. And then we went to Attica. EPI asked us to go to Attica to try to start an AA group there. And we shared. And his dad's house was right by the water. You could hear I'd keep the window open at night. You could hear the water flap, flop, flop. And I was like, this is heaven. And my in-laws, it was before Thanksgiving, no, it was Christmas. Yeah, because my sister-in-laws were saying, we've never seen the house this clean. It smells so good. And I had to learn. After the second day, his dad told me, you're finishing my hot water. And I'm like, and then I didn't want to scream. There's a frickin' spider in the bathtub with me.
Did you give it a bath?
Yeah, no, I just got out and told him, Mike, there's a spider in here. And I would sit by the table in the kitchen, it was like that size, and I would eat breakfast and I'd watch the sea otters and the eagles.
Mm.
I was stressed from my job with EPIA, helping people in the community, burnt out. And I would stare at the lake, because he did live by the water, and I would watch the eagles and the otters. And I told him, I love your view. We don't like the otters. They eat our food. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so I learned how to turn off the water when I'm soaping. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Mike didn't try to tell me either. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
How long did you stay there?
2 weeks. I did not want to come home. I didn't. I was so burnt out. And my mom was staying at my house watching it. She said, it's the old furnaces up in, we moved there in 86. In, 88, take that back. They built it in 86. Anyway, my mom was having issues with my boiler furnace. She said, Melissa came.
Your niece, Melissa.
My gosh. Came boiler room. Only thing that was white was her gray eyes. Holding the cat. And then that stressed me out, and there was, I don't know who fixed our furnace. Always remembers that Melissa Holmes suit.
How old was she?
Yeah, she wasn't even a teenager. Her and my mom were close. It just came up with her big gray eyes. Kuka! Oh my gosh, my mom was laughing so hard. And so I added to my stress, and I did not want to come home to my job or my family. I just wanted us to stay there. And I cried when I was leaving. Kathy just hugged me. It's going to be okay. I said, I don't want to go home. I want to stay here. And I fell in love with Corrigan. And I'm jealous because Candace is there. And I go, did you go to Corrigan yet? She goes, yes. I'm like, I'm jealous. And then I asked Mike Swetsoff. He says, you should come down and live with us. Well, I want a house on Corrigan. Okay. Never happened. But I was thinking I would retire there. And they only ate native foods. But they had a store right next to my father-in-law's house. And after he died, the house was kind of abandoned. It's not there anymore. So sad. Yeah.
That's good. You have good memories of it.
Yes,
too,
and they even
to visit it.
Larry took us on his skiff, and I saw my first waterfall in the Aleutians. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came back.
Me too. Me too. I did not want to, I swear to God.
I'm a little bit jealous that you went, though.
We were supposed to retire and have our own house on Corrigan. But I expected his dad's house to be there. But
Yeah. That's where my Lestenkopf lineage came from. And in 2008, was it? We were doing People of the Seal. We tried to go there, but they were renovating the runway. So we couldn't, weather affected it, and then even the runway, there was just only certain times a plane could really land there, so we didn't get to go. So it was
isolated. Yeah.
one day.
And the people were so nice. I made sure we visited with other people there, like George Kudrin and his wife. You know, she had arthritic back then. They moved to Anchorage. George is still there.
Yeah.
His wife passed.
Yeah.
And then I met some sneaker offs. But I have friends there. Kathleen, her husband was a VPSO. And then Millie Prokopiev, we were both CHRs. They call us wellness advocates at the time. Yeah. Help the people in the community.
So from there, when you came back, you were still working under APIA. When did it shift for you? You went to the. Did you go to the school? Work to the school?
Yes, I got burnt out.
Yeah.
And then I went to the school when I worked at TDX. Loved it. They treated me really good. You know, Greg and Anthony and them would say, "No, you're pregnant. Don't stay by us." You know, everybody is. But I think God waited for us to quit drinking, and at 16 months I got pregnant. And Father Seraphim Rollman, who was a priest, visiting priest at the time, he blessed us with his the cross, put a stole over us, and I heard Mother Catalina and them prayed by the Virgin Mary icon too for us. And then I got pregnant. And I told Father Sergius Gurkin, yeah, we got pregnant after so many months, and loved that man, monk priest. And I told him, yeah, my cousin that you blessed, Barbara Lestikoff, got blessed, her and her husband got blessed, and she got pregnant before us. And
You're supposed to do it like this.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So poor Dixie would had I went to ER because I almost miscarriaged. They let me wait 6 hours at the old hospital. And then Dixie was there too. Poor, hers didn't survive. But Barbara and I, yeah. And then Larry and Sumner. They had a baby, but they had their baby at Providence. Because I'd been sober 16 to 18 months. And then they gave me medicine for pain. And then I asked Mike, my mom, did I sleep from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock? No, you're in a lot of pain. I must have blacked out. And then 6:15, 6:16 in the morning, section, the doctor says, we're going to do a C-section. I want my husband and my mama there. No, we don't have room. I want to be awake for this. No. You know, I started crying, and my mind was thinking, he's going to kill me and steal my baby. Oh my gosh.
The protective mothering is already in place.
And then the next thing, half an hour, even my mom got so scared, she called Father Seraphim Rollman. He didn't come. But John and Sandra came, and I got out of surgery. Half an hour, 6:16 to 6:45. And I got out, and John and Sandra by the gurney right by me, and I was looking at them. I was like, why did they look scared? His heartbeat went from 140 down to 7 or 9. And then my mom thought they were going to lose me too. So she called them, panicking, obviously. And then my ex-husband had him in his arms. He's crying tears. He goes, we have a son. I knew that. You know, they must have gave me some hard drugs. I'm like, I knew that. His tears coming down. And holding Adrian. Still, and then my Kumska Cecilia say, boy, Adrian survived you. I was so overprotective, and I was like, you don't know what I went through. At 5 weeks, I had to stay home for 2 months and not do anything, but lay around. I was like, begging God not to take him from me. Yeah. So my friends said, you're too protective. And I was like, I didn't apologize for it.
How did you pick the name Adrian?
I heard it in church. Natalia's and Adrian's September 8th, I think. Same names days. Yeah. So I liked it. I told him we can name him Jordan or Adrian. How about Michael Jr.? Nope. There's enough juniors in this town. Me, no. I said, Jordan, because I love that name. You know, Michael Jordan was my favorite. I'm not naming him after him. I said, it's not, no. Jordan Michael Dirks. Nope. So we agreed on Adrian. Because some people say, oh, Douglas? No. Adrian. His church name is Michael after his dad. And Archangel Michael. Yeah. So
Nice. Yeah. What
And
a
then-
blessing.
yeah, he is a blessing. He gets mad at me. I was like, why did you even want me? And I was like, Plenty would say something to him. I say, yeah, shut up before I kick your ass. Yeah, then,
Now you have grandkids.
yeah, gosh, they have my heart. Just love them. Atreus will see me, sometimes he'll go like this to me. I'll go, come here, good looking. I sing, my grandpa used to sing, hey, good looking. He'd be drunk, sleeping on the bed. Hey, good looking. What? You got cooking? That's the only words I know. And I'd sing it to him. Yeah. I used to work in Head Start too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
E-shop, Amy and I, she was Eva Hepoff at the time. 20 kids. We did it. But it would get too much, you know, because we had all these stations. We'd say, get up, dress up. So we'd go for a walk to East Landing, come back. They'd calm down. And times when it was too cold, I'd say, we get in a circle, jump up and down, scream! Yeah, I remember.
That was by APIA as well. So you shift from what you were doing to Head Start
Yeah,
with APIA.
to, and the parents decided they wanted it at the school. And I didn't want it in the kindergarten class because you can't yell. Because Baldwin's class was next door, and I don't know who was next door on this side. But Stephanie's son, that, and Cushion. Henry, they were in that classroom with me, and the kids would say, you guys laugh all the time, huh? Yeah, I would say, they would all pile up on each other, and I'd say, I'm coming, and they'd scream out loud.
So was it in the kindergarten room? Because I remember, I think maybe that next year they moved it to by the shop. I think there was preschool in the...
Oh yeah,
shop,
that was
room by the shop.
Montessori.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Yeah, they had two programs.
Yeah,
That's right.
Some parents liked the preschool, some didn't want to have.
I
It
forgot
was
about
so
that.
intrusive. Where's your income tax statement? You have to have monthly meetings. And I invite the fire department when we were down there. Makari was there. We turned off the lights and they had smoke. The kids are scared. We try to show them what it was like for a real fire. What you're supposed to do, not what not to do. But the paperwork, we had to do reports every week. So much paperwork. We didn't do it for the money. Just like we're not doing it for the money down there too.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I remember Kyle Kashivarov with his... They weren't priests then. Priest and Matushka. Just come to school crying and crying, and then my boss says, just let him sleep. And then his mom got mad. You let him sleep all day? And then he'd cry and holler, and Caitlin, shut up! He'd be pounding on the door, crying for his parents. And Amy and I looked at each other. And Mabel's granddaughter, I thought it was cool, she was sweeping her little set. Didn't know where to put it. And Amy goes, don't bother. Swept it under the rug. It was
Seraphima.
Yeah, Seraphima. I was forgetting. And the next year, Desta and Aaliyah would cry because they were exhausted. And Desta was so shy and everything. And I asked Biff and Teresa, can I adopt her? I'll keep her name Baker. No, she's my mama. I just fell in love with them. And after all, the kids looked at me and I was like, I gotta stop this. Yeah, and Kyle was so mean. Barbara's daughter was there too. Said they didn't like him because he would scratch me and stuff like that. I would just hug him and say, calm down, calm down. Back then I had patience with him. This year I'm like, listen! And one of those kids gives me a look like, you're a bee, you know. I want to tell me, you're smart for nothing. You're so lazy and you don't listen. Of course, I can't say that, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Big difference. Back then, I was able to hold her attention for half an hour. When we did in the school, I remember telling you, 15 minutes. We could only do stuff 15 minutes, then go on to something else. I didn't like it. And now, they have no sense of humor. Some of them have no sense of humor. But yeah, I get attached to a few of them.
Yeah.
You know, this one kid she'll read something and it's funny. This one kid will look at me and smile, and I'll cover my face with paper so he doesn't see me smiling. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Right now, your role is you
I work with a fourth grade student who is, I don't know if I could say this, 2 years behind academically. Yeah. And then, so I worked with her in 2nd and 3rd grade and now 4th grade. And dealing with 5th grade, I was like, Baldwin and Jessica, puberty, I don't like it. They're changing bodies, you know. Sometimes they'll be nice, be happy, and other times they'll be mad at me. So I'm like, fine, go ahead. And open the classroom door after gym. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good you're still involved with children.
I'm because my mom died from dementia. I'm scared of it. Honest to God, I'm scared of it. And I don't have enough. I consulted with a retirement specialist. Said you can't live off $300 a month up here. But I have all of my other paperwork. I'm such a procrastinator. And the PERS retirement is the best one so far. So yeah. But I think when I worked in the school, half a day with a kindergarten teacher and then half day with the library, that and probably the seal harvest, probably my favorite jobs. Because I was able to read. But this new superintendent came in and the principal, you can't read books to the kids, you don't have a degree. I'm like, what? I would do lesson planning, but I couldn't read to them. And then I got tired of them rubbing it in my face. And when that one teacher had a breakdown because he was abusive to his wife, he had 3 sons. Guess who they came to take over his class? And then Donita goes, you refuse to do his class? They rub it in my face. I don't have a degree, so I can't do this, and that. But they want me to teach his class? I asked them, are they going to give me his pay? They go, no. So, no, I'm not doing it. Donita didn't say anything. But I still ended up doing it anyway. Yeah. But that guy and I are friends on Facebook. But, yeah.
Yeah.
And the one job I loved the most, too, was when TDX had that grant for the museum position. They said they offered it to you. I said, I don't know enough. Aquina does. Well, she didn't want to. So yeah, I applied. It only lasted a year. Broke my heart when they laid me off.
That was like 96, 95,
I don't
mid 90s.
2000, because Dr. Lydia Black came in.
Okay.
And Another was here.
Yeah.
We'd meet in the A dorm where they
Yeah.
had their books.
I have a picture of one of those meetings, I think. And I remember, I think by that late 90s, I had shifted to the environmental work. So it was like, I couldn't juggle both of them. Because I did do a year of repatriation work through Tanadus Corporation. It was like a 1-year thing too.
Well,
So I liked that. I liked sitting
loved
and visiting
it.
with those of us who were on the
Yeah.
museum committee.
yeah, I learned so much.
Yeah.
Like, Mary told me my Grandpa George would go to Juneau. He'd bring back a tin can of candy for my grandma for senior. And then they had it in there, the items we found, we had.
Do you know where all of that stuff is now?
No, Nina Semyonov asked me, Daria, where's all that stuff? So what we did was I was so mad at Ron. He had Helen. The guys used to call her Auntie Helen. They didn't like her. So she called me up, Daria, your last day of work is Friday. We ran out of money. She called, anyway, Julie Shane offered me a job with BSC, Flagger, because I had done it for Chalista one summer. Like that one guy said, yeah, all of us drunks were put on the night shift. Pissed me off. But it was true. All of us that had drinking problems were on night shift, But it paid $20 an hour. Heck yeah, I'm going to work good. Anyway, yeah, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah, it only lasted a year. And
The items.
we put them, Aubrey was there. Nabel, Paul's ex-wife, was there. They recorded everything. I would give them pictures. They showed me how to put it on the site. We put it all. Do you remember growing up where, I think it's where Ethan's
Yeah,
music,
that freezer.
yes,
or
that
the,
freezer. Yep. I said, Nina, that's where they put everything. Are you sure? Aubrey made me a CD of everything on there. Mr. Brown had mailed me stuff that they had found. But once they found out I was getting laid off, I sent it back to them. And Thady Filmoff asked me, you're going to send it back to them? Yeah, he wants it back. And it was a good thing because everybody was saying, they're lost. I'm like, how could they be? Because it was a computer lab, and that was that locker, probably about this size.
it was quite a long. Yeah.
Because I remember going there with my grandpa and getting seal meat and whatever else we had. Cold storage. And she goes, it's not there. I'm like, I don't know. They made me feel like I took it. Why would I steal stuff like that? Everything was recorded on paper. Computer too, I think. Somebody took off with them.
You have the CDs still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I still have it. I keep it.
Might be good to transfer that to USB because it's hard to read CDs. Do you have a CD computer, a CD reader? I think we have one here. If you have a laptop, we could.
A rinky-dink Chromebook. I'm not computer literate.
Yeah.
You guys could record
You could
it.
probably, if you want, either come by or have Platinita bring them, and she can put them on the CD reader, and we can see if they still, because sometimes programs are updated, and if it was done at a time, we might not be able to see it anymore.
Yeah, it was-
And if we can, then we can have her put it on a USB.
Yeah, it was 2000 because the lady that was the health director said, Daria, you look happy. Says, I am. I loved it.
That was the year my mom passed.
I went to New York. I went to Fairbanks for training. I went to Unalaska for training. And Wanda Chin, Fairbanks director. And
Allison
then
Young.
Allison Young, yeah. I told somebody, I just love those women. And they go, well, they love you too. I learned from them, and then I met these guys in the state. He was a really good man, tall, bald. He took his wife's last name, she took his name, vice versa. And then I told him, I forgot his name. I said, hey, I have all these artifacts. I'm cleaning them with cold water. We did it in the kitchen. Julie goes, boy, you're enjoying yourself. I said, this is heaven. I cleaned the artifacts. I told him I was cleaning with cold water. And he goes, no, you have to do this. And I said, oh, no. He goes, it's okay, Daria. You're trying. And then he offered to come up here for free. I'll help you and I'll teach you. And Ron said, no. I'm like, why? He was going to teach me how to clean them and preserve them. No. And I was so mad because if people say, oh, that's a museum, I go, it is not a museum. Even Anthony asked me, I said, it's not temperature controlled. You shouldn't have that much light in there. When you have alley baskets, I'm no different. You should not have that much light.
Yeah.
When we went to Ketchikan, lights were small and they were in a case.
Yeah.
They were in a case where
Protected.
nothing can get in.
I wonder if the stuff ended up downstairs in this building. Be good to find out. But yeah, we all have other lives right now and work to do, right? But that would be. And I think even some of the wood from when they tore down when the boxing shed was torn down, was put in there with those. They were old growth redwood.
Wow.
That from when the buildings were made in the early 1900s, boxing shed and wash house and all of those, and some of that wood was kept. I think some of the beams that had people's names on it. Yeah, on them.
Yeah.
It was put in that long room.
Joseph Melvinov's uncle or grandpa, he had his name somewhere, and then Joseph turned out to be an electrician too. You remember when Dr. Lydia Black came up? We were all
I remember, but I don't remember what all happened.
She came up and then she goes, we were all talking, and Nada was we were right across from each other. She came up to me, Daria. I said, yeah. Are you a Rukavishnikov? Yes. I was on my father's side. And she goes, your ancestor, Rukavishnikov. They say all of the men were forced. Some men were forced to come up here. My ancestor, Rukavishnikov, volunteered to come to St. Paul. And so he got a Catherine the Great medallion when she was Empress, Queen, whatever they called them in Russia back then. And
close that.
And that's okay. And for some reason, my ancestor uncles were dying. His sons were dying. So he gave that medallion to Deacon Mandragon. Right? Deacon Mandragon? Yeah. And then, so why my grandpa gave it to him, I don't know. I wish he hadn't done that. And then nobody knows where that medallion is. Catherine the Great medallion. He must have given it to some Jorgensen family somewhere. And now we'll never see
Mysteries.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll never see it again.
Huh.
But yeah, then she said too, like one of my best friends when I was working as wellness advocate, Charlotte Giswald, her mom was Hope, I think. Or Lily McGarvey, maybe, told me that, my grandma or my mom she didn't believe that Dr. Lydia Black said the Russians only killed so many Aleuts. Their mom thought it was higher number of killing our Unangan ancestors, and I told somebody, But she was nice enough to archive, going through the seminary archives and help them, and then helped us.
I think that was one of the last big projects she did. Lydia Black was working the archives at the seminary.
Yeah, that she was best friends with my cousin Pat. Yeah. And
you have a good memory.
I'm trying. Adrian says, you're so forgetful. Let's see. But yeah, I remember Dr. Lily Black saying that she put her arms on me and said, my ancestor, Rogvishnikov.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just, ugh. And then years ago, couldn't sleep. I used to have sleep issues. And I was watching Discovery or something, and they showed our ancestors living inside the hills, and the Russians shooting down at them.
Mm-hmm.
I was so angry. I couldn't sleep the rest of the morning. And yeah, that's why my family doesn't understand why. He says, you look more white. And my Uncle Nikolai told Andrew, it's okay, we're light colored just because we're Russian. And I said, I don't know, Russian. You guys might be even.
We were talking about what's a good. I think Elisa and I had a wish. Wouldn't it be cool, or what if some of those people that went up into the mountains survived?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, I read that somewhere. I think it was Ray Hudson's book, Ivory and Paper. And this is like a late 1800s setting, I think, or so. But yeah, it's just trying to think in that perspective of the time, like, yeah, there's got to be people who fled and living in the mountains, keeping up the old ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that book that Ray Hudson is like a juvenile fiction book, but it's the way he did it makes you think about.
Oh, he sure loved
pondered
that.
upon.
He sure loved our people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember reading one of his books. Because I was doing basket weaving upstairs in the old clinic. Nina was with us.
Is that Moments Rightly Placed? The book that was about.
No, that's Sumner's book. Ray Hudson. Oh, I don't know where that's from.
He wrote a book, Moments Rightly Placed, and he has basket weaving through it.
He said something about. Because anyway, he said something about. It's true that even my ex-husband said that you start working on a project, art, and it takes over itself.
Mm-hmm.
It takes over. And then I told Nina we had to undo my one basket. I says, this is possessed. After I read that book, I was thinking, my basket's possessed. And she goes, Daria, let me fix it for you. No, I can do it. No, you're going to get frustrated and mad. That's where I have that necklace from.
Oh.
She finished it for me because I had 3 times in 1 hour undo it. And then when Ray Hudson said that, I was like, that's what happened to me. He said it had its own spirit. And then I called it possessed. And Nina finished it by putting sealskin on the back part.
Nice.
And beads. And that's why I wear it.
Yeah.
And I told my family, it goes with me.
Yeah. You should show that to some of the folks that are doing, maybe they can, like they're doing earrings, or they're, like Stephanie's doing basket weaving with fur around, but maybe somebody can make the necklaces.
Yeah. So, and that was the last basket I did. But I did that museum job and the fur seal job. Yeah. I cried. I checked out Jason Semyonov Jr. and hair tuner in the office. And I clocked out at 3 o'clock. What's the matter? Helen told me I'm getting laid off on Friday. I'm going home. I was so angry, I just clocked out. And I went home and cried. And then when Ron saw
Was that
me,
the office down there? At the
downstairs, yeah.
Yeah.
Facing the...
Used to be the Point Warehouse side.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one, yeah. But I said, all that history, all that work I did with experts. I got to see baskets. I went to D.C. with Mary B. Vlast Shablin, Maria Turnpaugh from Alaska, and they identified objects. We found out objects that this is not in our culture. Might have been Southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took us there.
Yes.
And
sometimes they mistakenly mark items, not sure where they come from.
yes, environment.
So with where we are now in these times, if you could share what your thoughts are on the good things, or if you have concerns, anything about community or economy, or times after the pandemic. What's your thoughts with where we are right now as a community?
I'm worried because I feel like our students aren't learning. How are they going to be as our leaders if they get mad in the gym and they cop an attitude when we played around together all the time? Too much internet. Are they going to be able to be our leaders? And then one of the teachers and I talked about too how they're not athletic like we were. We were on volleyball, we were on basketball, I don't remember what else. We were always outside playing together, so we knew how to get along. And if we had differences, it was solved the next day. Instant Siri, you know, there's your instant answers.
Mm.
We didn't have that. We had to work on it together. And our economy, I'm tired of hearing that we need money, 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 money for everything. It shouldn't be that way. It wasn't that way when we were growing up, was it?
Mm-mm.
I don't remember. We didn't know that at the time that we weren't well-to-do, but we had everything we ever needed. Like my mom and I would say, we never needed anything. And I remember my sister-in-law, Liza, saying she was always happy when my grandma would give her, because they always bought me toys. I never asked for anything. I just got lots of dolls. And she had to give them away or throw them away. She'd take them up to Barbara and Trent's house, and they got dolls from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they had girls.
Mm-hmm. And Miss Liza said she remembers that they used to have Mrs. Butterworth's glass bottle as dolls. Yeah. Then I remember my grandma too, out of a can, using some kind of a tool to make me a windmill. And it was on a stick or something, and I would take it outside and it would go round and round.
Nice.
I remember she made me string and made me a beaded necklace. I still have it to this day.
Mm.
One time I broke it, I was so hurt, she fixed it. Yeah, I'm worried. But I have faith that we'll work it out.
Mm.
It will all turn out good.
Mm-hmm.
We will.
What gives you that? What gives you that? I feel like that too. I get it. Like sometimes folks we do have those worries, but at the same time, we have there's good things that we have that have. What do you think those are that make us feel hopeful?
That we're still strong as a whole community. We're still strong. We have strength. That we're still caring. Everybody still cares about each other, even if sometimes they don't act like it. I have hope because I used to tell the kids in my classroom last year and this year. When you see the kids, I said, stop it. Your ancestors are amazing people. They could do it. You can do it. I tell them how we were even having mummified the dead in caves when the Egyptians were.
Yeah.
And they knew what the body parts, if something was wrong with him. There was even a story about a man who was hunting. He just cut his foot, stitched it up, and went back to walking.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's how strong their people are.
I think I had somebody that asked me about engaging with kids, and I said I have to, because when I get old, I'm going to need somebody to help me, take care of me.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but I told my sons, just leave me at Southwest, I'll be fine. And then one of my friends, that's not Christian. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to be a burden to them. Yeah.
Yeah. In
That's-
looking back on your lifetimes, yeah, thanks for sharing. I really
Yeah.
appreciate like you bringing back memories for me that come from my times too, and people that I remember.
I even have a picture of you and I right in my bedroom at 49, small bedroom table. I was holding my headband and we were looking at each other just laughing. I was thinking, yeah, you play.
Yep.
It's so much fun. I was thinking, and then I think the last kids I saw were Ernest and Tony's girls playing tea with their dolls outside on that porch, CBSFA house. And I was thinking, man, I miss those days. Martha and I, Bea. And then I got older. Martha Titoff was still my best friend. And Gina became my best friend too. We'd-
Oh yeah, right
Yeah.
here.
Yep. Then-
House 2-4.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'd play together. We went to one of the birds died, so we buried it. Then we take it out to see, is it rotten yet or whatever, to see if it has bones came yet. After so many times doing that, we couldn't find it.
Maybe a fox came and took it.
Yeah, we wanted to check it out later to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
How, it's dead.
My sister did that to one of her cats. She took it, its name was Snoopy, and she didn't like bury it. She put it in like a hole because she wanted to look at it and see how it was decomposing and what it looked like afterwards.
Yeah. And it didn't work. We had to give up because we couldn't find it anymore.
So, looking back at all of your awesome times and stories you shared, what would you say you know now about living a happy life?
What I say now.
Yeah. What would you say? What would you like?
We didn't know what a happy, blessed life we had back then. I remember my mom kept a visitor upstairs room. That lady rented it from my mom, and then my brothers were upstairs. We didn't have Mike and Mary then, but it was a good life. We played together, and my brothers and I would play. We're dead. On a blanket.
You had to make
my
a sound.
turn. And then in the basement, Mark, Andrew, and I always got John in trouble, and Bill would say, he can't reach that. We decided it was a smart idea to get a rag and paint the basement. and Bill says, who painted this? John? And I remember one time too, Andrew is just always the decal one. And we always blamed John when we got in trouble. Acting snakes going around the pole of the tricycle. And John's wheel flew off into in the basement. He started crying. Andrew, what did you do? John, he goes, I didn't do anything. His tricycle wheel came off by and his and my grandkids, they get loud. Adrian, especially Liliana, they could get really loud. And he go, I said, all right, you Rukavishnikov, lower your voice for a while. I told Adrian and Platnita, because John would be the loudest, because he always got blamed. And he'd go, whoa, 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 and we say, shut up. and we blamed him for everything we did wrong. And Bill never believed it.
Your mom was living there when before she married Bill or after she married Bill?
Before.
Before, in house one.
that's what her and my dad and Ray, that was their house.
Yeah. Was it
Before-
after
Before
Moody?
then, yeah, after Ludi and their family lived
Mhm.
there. Yeah. And my mom's mad at Bill. She never wanted to leave that house. And then they moved up to 138.
Mm,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but when Dr. Torrey, who's the psychiatrist, used to go give Bill his shots for arthritis, he would say, "You have the best view of town." I go, "Well, you know." But
Oh, down here.
no, up at
Uptown.
138,
Mhm.
yeah. Go up there and give him his shots.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had already forgotten, see, about your mom and them living in house one.
Yeah, a year and a half later, she married Bill, Marva's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was not happy.
Mm.
Of course, I was only 6, 7. I was a little brat. You know, it was my grandparents' baby, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, when we're that young, we don't understand about
And
those
then-
things.
I remember after my dad had died, we had to walk to school. We walked from 49. That flood seeing Cape Nurse, and I woke up and my grandma told me about the flood, and I said, "It went close to my Auntie Fanny's house." I was grateful she was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember walking to school in January, seeing Cape Nurse house floating. That was scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the thing I remember growing up was it was fun going to the movies too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
When did you start singing in the choir?
When it used to be, was it active? Not active. He and his matush got divorced. He says, one of the bishops told me he has a gift for singing. And I went to church. We had to stay in the boys section, and that right next to the altar. And he says, tell Daria to come up and read. That's when I started reading. And I was thinking, I don't want to sing. I'd rather read, not sing. You know. And that's when I started. One of the bishops said that active had a voice gift for music, church music. So one of the stars just, Lavrenti, I love that man. You know, like this. When he was I was on church council, he would say, "Daria, ask for this, I need this." So I would go to Trenti, go, "Starston needs this." Okay. We'd order it.
Mm.
But yeah, that's when I started. I wanted to be a reader in my heart. I wanted to be a reader. I forgot to mention too, my ex-husband went to Santa Fe school. I told Aha, we want to rent our house out. We're going to come back in the summer. No, you can't rent it out to PSD. That's a rich company. Back then they were about to do. I said, I want to go to school there to be a museum, do museum studies. No, you can't. You'll lose your house. You'll have to give it up.
Mm.
So, yeah. And then I told my mom I wanted to be a reader. And that's, in my heart, I want to. Not for anybody, just for me. Because my grandfather, Lakanov, did it in my Uncle Nick's cathedral. Or I should say, their cathedral. I don't call it a church. It's a cathedral.
Stars to Nick.
Yeah. Love that man.
Mm-hmm.
I only my immediate family knows that he was my favorite uncle ever. Now I have no uncles and only one auntie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So looking back, you look back and you said we had a great life. In looking forward, how do you see some of those things contributing to continued, I don't want to say successful, but fruitful living for people here in our town, or meaningful living, or
I have no
things,
idea.
things that maybe you feel like, man, these things is what made it so great and those things can be carried forward.
We were not allowed to speak Aleut in school, and I told some people my grandparents would not teach my mom the language. But when I was 9, Nadezhda Shishnikov was my krusna. They were close, like this house. We go to house 36. No toys, no books. I'd sit there by the cupboard. They'd be playing cards, laughing, talking, and I would just sit there calm and quiet. And then I said, I know what they're talking about. I understood. I understood it. And I was so proud. But now I'm the first Aleut language dropout. I had to tell Bonners, no, I don't want to. He said, why? I said, do you know what it feels like being 60-something and have a 20-year-old teach you your language? So that's humiliating for me. And then I decided, I'm not good enough. But Z and Greg will talk Aleut, Unangan to me sometimes. Like I told Planita, she goes, Unangan. I said, I'll say Aleut if I want. You keep your Unangan word if you want. I'm very happy that we're bringing the language back. The dance, I've decided, I asked Anne Marie, can I join in the dance? I missed it. And she goes, yeah. So, but I like to, like I told everybody yesterday, when I learn something about our history, I tell the kids that I'm with, this is what happened and so forth. I want to keep it going because Mary B was my inspiration. And I'm so proud. You know, when my grandma died, she said to my mom and I, you can call me Anada. Your mom was my best friend. Yeah. Nice. So I like the fact that we're bringing back our language and our dance. Remember for Fraser? She gave us a packet that thick on dance. Where she got it, I don't know. But whenever I find my stuff on Aleut history, or I share it to Anna Marina.
Any regrets? Anything like that?
My regret is that I didn't go into museum studies. If I could start over again, I would do archaeology in a minute. And then one guy, biologist, says, yeah, boy, you'd have a lot to do. I would. That, and I would have went to Kodiak to become a reader. Those are only two things I regret not doing. But that doesn't mean I can't do it if I retire. I'm not trying to take over anything. I just want to do it for me. Because my grandfather Simeon did it. You know,
did you have people like you feel like they were your mentors? People you looked up to? I know you talk about Anada.
Yeah. My grandmother Doris, she tried teaching me basket weaving, and it took a while because I'm one of those women that where you get so frustrated you cry and throw it down, and then later on in that evening or the next day pick it up and I go, I did it, know. I'm one of those Aleut students that you have to show me more than once. My grandma picked it up like that. I'm not like that. I have to see it more than once to oh, okay.
Anything you want to share that we didn't bring up?
I remember when we did the Hester was an East shop. We had one section basketball corner. Then I had my cultural corner. Then the library, and then something else. The person in charge told somebody, I love Daria's cultural corner. It wasn't a corner. It's like a wall. It's like I had pictures of elders like Grandma Eula, Kashfarov, and then other pictures, and then posters of St. Paul, our ancestors, old calendars, hang it up and stuff. I enjoyed that. Augusta Butter or Mary would come in and do Aleut language once a week. But and I don't know what happened after that.
That was the APIA program at that
Mhm.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they would have snack. We had breakfast, and then we had snack.
Hmm.
Yeah. I forgot. It was a happy life without TV, without a phone. Sometimes I think these kids can't fathom. I didn't have my first TV. See my first TV till I was 14. Didn't get our landline phones till I was 20. It's like, what? Well,
Yeah,
it's
roller coaster.
fun, you two.
Yeah.